Good morning and welcome back to the Football Terrace. The window is shut, but I wanted to give you the opportunity, our viewers, our subscribers, some new viewers as well. Hopefully every video gets put in front of new viewers as well, to have your say and review your club's transfer window. Of course, the Football Terrace panel will be doing that in one of our big shows that's coming up later on this evening, giving you their thoughts and feelings, their predictions for the season. But what's very important to us here at the Terrace is to give you the chance right here on the Done Deal Show to have your say, to give us your opinion in relation to what's gone on, what's happened, how you feel that your club has done. When we look at some of the facts here, Arsenal spending in and around £160 million, Man United around 130, City only signing one player, but at 100 million quid. Chelsea spending just over £100 million, including the loan fee of Saul Niguez. And then the likes of Aston Villa and West Ham spending 63 and £93 million respectively as well. Lots of improvements made to many squads, including Leicester and Tottenham Hotspur. A lot of frugal business completed. But I want to understand how you think your team is going to do from this point moving forward. It's very, very key indeed. When you start to look into it and look at the questions, can Cristiano Ronaldo drive Man United forward to challenge for major honours and titles? Can Lukaku break Chelsea's striker curse? Have Arsenal wasted that £160 million? Will they see the fruits of that labour? Could it be that Liverpool Football Club regret not spending more? And is Grealish enough for Manchester City to retain their title? The link for the show to call in is already pinned into the live comment section next to our poll. I want to hear from you from the off this morning in relation to the transfer window, how you felt it went for your football club and all that jazz. Do me a favor first and smash that like button, retweet if you're watching on Twitter, and follow if you're watching us on Twitch. Let's do this, people. Morning, welcome back to the Terrace, everyone. I hope you've had wonderful starts to your days. Going to jump straight into your live comments here to see what you're all saying. I'm delighted with my club's activity, is what Twisted Bubba is saying here this morning, and I kind of get that from a Man United fan's point of view. Chris here says we had an okay window, but we've overspent on players we didn't necessarily need, is what Chris thinks. Another member here, Paul, says Man City were not smart by chasing Kane too long. They would have jumped in for Haaland, or should have jumped in for Haaland. Maybe you mean there. Good morning, Maria Williams. Hope you're well. Terry continuing the got to work hard every day. You can't take your foot off the gas. There's always something in football to talk about. Fans want to be able to speak about it, so we're doing it. Of course, the Big Bet Victor show back later on. We've got to think of a name for that show, really. We haven't named it yet, but that's back this evening around about 6:30, so make sure you're tuning in for that one. Dwayne here says, morning, Terry. Great content over deadline day yesterday. I gave Man United an 8 out of 10 window. And that's what I'd like to see in the live comment sections from you now, or in the comment section below if you're watching this on repeat. How would you rate your club's window out of 10? Say who your club is, the number you're giving them as well, please. I want to know how well you think your club has done. How well has your club done? And make sure you're smashing that like button for us this morning. Very, very important to the Football Terrace. Jamie here says, because they are trying to be backup dancers instead, they've got way too big for their boots. Quoting a little bit of Stormzy there. So I wonder what it was in relation to. Last time Arsenal won the league, something brick phones. People had brick phones. That's what you're saying there. I don't know, it was 2004. Like things like the Razor were out. Phones were really small back then, actually. It's kind of weird. I sold phones in that era. Phones went from being massive to being tiny, and now they're quite big again. But obviously, they do a lot more now. There's no way Spurs will get top 4. They will bottle it just like they bottled every cup they enter, is what Winter's Raft believes this morning. Arsenal are prepared for relegation battle. They just need Big Sam. It's going to be intriguing to see how these things work out. I'd love to hear from you this morning. Please give us a call. Please come on and have your say. What's Chris here saying? At least we won the Premier League, unlike some teams. Well, you have in your history. There's no doubt about it. Dyke here is saying a 9 out of 10 season for Chelsea. Elite is saying an 8 out of 10 for Chelsea. Iconic football shirts, Everton 2 out of 10. Ankit thinks it's 9 out of 10 this morning. United 6 out of 10. Got a new striker. An RB, but no sense. Oh, Air United. Sorry. I thought you meant Man United in terms of that. Chelsea fans really happy this morning, it seems. Another 8 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Robbie here says it was an 8 out of 10. Adding Sound Gez makes it a 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Ian Lee here, as a Liverpool fan, says 0 out of 10. 0 out of 10. Tahir says 0 out of 10 for Liverpool. Again, 5.5 here from Devish in relation to Arsenal. Belly watching over there on Twitter says 9.5. Doesn't say who I can see he supports Man United by his emoji, so he thinks it's pretty good. Another look at the Chelsea fans are very, very happy with their window here. They truly are, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Chelsea fans are, looking at this and saying, we're ready for the season ahead. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. A few people keep coming into the back room to do calls and then disappearing. I don't quite know why. But I'm going to go into what I think this morning. When I look at the sort of current situation with, what the clubs have done. And it's about reflecting sometimes, which is really, really important. And I think to myself, and any questions you've got for me, please get your questions in. We'll sit there and get them answered for you this morning. Julian says, morning, Terry. United 8.5 out of 10. The DM would have been perfect addition for the most complete window we've had in years. Yeah, and I totally get that. I think Man United is where, I wanted to start. I look at Manchester United and I've listened to fans, and the most important thing to do as a content creator is to listen to fans and what they think and feel. You should always have your own opinion, but your opinion should always be influenced by that of others. It's very, very important. And there does seem to be a big consensus across, I would say, 80% of Man United fans that a DM was massively needed, or an improvement in the midfield was massively needed. At the same time, second in the league last year, Europa League final, went to the semis. I think, did we go to the semis in the League Cup? I might have got that wrong. Quarterfinals in the FA Cup. With Ronaldo's goal-scoring ability, Varane shoring up the back line, and Jadon Sancho's extra creativity, can I see this team going steps further? Yes. In fact, Man United's squad is now good enough to challenge for a Premier League title. And that is the bare minimum expectation from me now after and when I say challenge, I'm talking with 2 games to go, we are still in that hunt. Not relying on the team above us to lose 2 games on the bounce or anything mad. Sort of, we're 1 or 2 points off the top. It's neck and neck. Any slip up and we could capitalize. That's where I expect Man United to be as a bare minimum from this point. And I don't think anybody should be flapping about. I don't think anybody should be flapping about that. Oh, no. If we had a better manager, like an elite world-class manager, recognized as a world-class manager, I would probably put Man United in as joint favourites alongside Chelsea Football Club. I can't discount how well they've done. But I do understand that Man United fans are massively concerned that, Ronaldo's extra goals. And Ronaldo, I still think, is going to score 25 to 30 goals in all comps. And Ronaldo's one of those players, he'll score additional goals. A bit like Bruno Fernandes coming in. We didn't just take all the goals we were scoring and create a system that meant that Bruno was the one tapping them in. We score additional goals. We created more chances. We scored more goals. We even won more penalties at that time because of the way we were playing. I think we're going to win even more now. The more creative you are, the more speed around in and around the edge of the box and in the box, the more chance you've got of winning penalties. United had a methodology to it. And, so we'll add additional goals. And those additional goals will, again, generate more points. Varane shoring us up at the back. But it's going to be intriguing to see how Manchester United really do get on this season. Now, I'm going to talk Chelsea. I'm going to talk Man City a little bit later. Liverpool, everybody knows my stance on them. Everybody knows my stance on Liverpool. And keep, by the way, putting in your comments. Let me know where you rate your club's transfer window so far. Any questions you've got, member chats, super chats, get them in. And we'll bring them up. Chris actually asked me, where do I think Man United will finish? And I kind of just said that there. The final position isn't really I want to win the league. Of course I bloody do. The final position isn't really my concern. It's pushing for that title until the end of the league campaign. If you finish third, but 2 points off the top, that's better than finishing second than being 7 points off the top, because you're nearly there. So that's what I want from us this season. And, of course, a trophy, no doubt. Liverpool's one's really interesting because, I sat on a stream last night with the Red Sea podcast. Paul Mitchell was there from Red Men, and I was there for like 15 minutes listening and talking as well. And some Liverpool fans have a real genuine confidence going into this season about what they're going to do, how they're going to perform, what they're going to deliver, and all that jazz. I have to stay true. And I've spent the whole evening reflecting on how I felt. And I think Liverpool, if the majority of their squad stays fit, I believe Liverpool Football Club will. What's the word I'm looking for here? Finish in the top four. I do believe they'll finish in the top four. However, challenging for the Premier League title at this point, I can't see it. I can't see it right now. I think with where City are, plus Grealish, with the improvements of Man United and Chelsea, I just think they're not going to be good enough and deep enough to be able to knock those two teams out, all three of those teams out the way to win the Premier League title. They are going to pick up some injuries. They've got the African Cup of Nations to contend with, multiple tournaments to contend with. And I think their front line is a little bit stale. And I think Liverpool in this transfer window, to bring it back to the transfer review, that's where Liverpool Football Club have messed up. Liverpool Football Club have messed up by not rejuvenating any element of their attack. Shaqiri's actually gone. They've added nothing new. Divock Origi needed to go 2 seasons ago. He's still there. I think Jota's, of course, I think they're very talented, the players that they've got. But I think there is a stoutness that has set in, that has creeped in. And if their conversion rate of chances doesn't improve dramatically on last season by sort of 15% or so, they had no way of winning the league. They'll make top 4. But then we have to look at any massive improvements from teams out of that. So that's where I put Liverpool in relation to things right about now. Now, when it comes to Arsenal is such an intriguing one. Remember, we are going to take your calls very soon. The link is in the description below. So keep that coming, please, ladies and gentlemen. Get yourself in the back room. We'll get you on very, very soon to have your say. We have to look at Arsenal and reflect on the fact that they've spent £160 million. They are the biggest spenders in the Premier League. They are the biggest spenders of outgoing transfer fees, biggest spenders. And I think they've bought a number of talented players. I can't yield from that belief because everybody else is angry about what they have or haven't done. However, they didn't complement their signings with a marquee player. They didn't complement their signings by landing or bringing in a top talent in the here and now. If you take out Odegaard and you throw into the mix James Maddison, for me, it changes the transfer window for Arsenal. If you throw in a Lautaro Martinez, it changes the transfer window from an Arsenal point of view, as far as I'm concerned. I think they've bought a lot of, Lokonga, very talented. Tavares, I'm really intrigued to see how good he becomes. Very interested to see how good he becomes. The Ramsdale and Odegaard deals are the ones for me that stand out as being concerns. Could they have used that money and invested it in a star player. I look at I go back to, nearly a month ago now when the news really started to pick up about advanced talks with Lautaro Martinez, player willing to join, a deal being there to be done. That's the kind of player they should have brought in to complement it. Arsenal spend 160 million. It proves there's money there. Maybe, though, this is part of but maybe we're being too short-sighted. So I want to try and be balanced here. Maybe we're being too short-sighted. Maybe, actually, what we're seeing is like a base being built this summer, and it's next year where maybe another 120, 130 is going to be spent, but it's going to be on two players, two star players to add sort of crowning jewels to the crown, as it were. Maybe that's the approach, and we'll look back in a year's time from here and go, it makes sense now why Arsenal did what they did. They wanted to build a deeper squad before adding the stars to it. The final pieces, maybe. But I do understand the disappointment from Arsenal. And I'm trying to be fair here, but I do understand the concerns that Gooners have. Billy T, one of our long-standing members, says, happy with Man United's window. 7 out of 10. Genuinely excited for this season's title challenge. The most open it's been in years. I think you're absolutely right. David says, I agree, Terry. If you swap Odegaard for Maddison, then I put Arsenal up to 5 out of 10. Now, I think they become a little bit higher than that, to be fair, in my opinion. I do think, but where they have missed out is they haven't signed anybody that's going to score the goals. Unless Aubameyang has a resurgence, which right now doesn't look likely, that's where they're really, really going to struggle this year. Make sure you've smashed that like and that share button, people. Next, Tottenham. Now, Tottenham's an interesting one for me because I feel they were a little bit hamstrung by not having a manager in sooner. If they would have had Nuno lined up from the end of the season in the door, Peditici here early in the door, I think you'd have seen better business overall from Tottenham Hotspur. Now, as I say, I think they've done good business. I think good business has been done by them. I'm not going to deny that. However, they could have done a little bit more. Keeping Harry Kane is essential. One thing about the transfer window is this: new signings. We touched on Liverpool already. Like, new signings are important. So re-signing players is important. Keeping players is important. One of Man United's biggest issues I was concerned about this summer was signing Sancho but losing Pogba as a point. So keeping Harry Kane was exceedingly important for the window for Tottenham. Hill is a very talented young player. Christian Romero is class. I think he's going to be an absolute star in the Prem. And I'm also intrigued to see how Emerson Royal gets on. Would they have liked a midfield player? Yes. And there was something that an article that was sent through to me this morning. Someone sent me like a clip of an article. And where I would be slightly disappointed there was a Chelsea, as a Spurs fan, is with, I'm not going to call it a lie, but the story that you were going to try and sign Martinez or Vlahovic to play alongside Harry Kane. I always knew that was BS. I always knew that was the club doing its homework. No, they knew they couldn't start making inquiries for those players without the media picking up on it. The agents of those players, or it was always going to leak that they were looking at those individuals. And so Spurs got ahead of the game by saying, we're looking to add those strikers to the Harry Kane situation. It never happened. And in fact, as soon as, there was lots of talk of additional strikers coming in, but as soon as Harry Kane committed himself to Tottenham, there was no more talk. Not one story about a Spurs signing a striker. So there would be a part of me as a Spurs fan that would feel like we had a good window, still didn't improve the midfield as much as we needed to, and they haven't added anything major to their front line in terms of in the here and now. But I still think it's a very good window. It could have been much better, same as most of our teams. With all other areas we'd have probably liked to have seen. But I still think it's been very, very good. They've spent wisely. They've spent diligently as well. They've improved elements of the squad. And let's not negate or neglect the most important incoming this summer for Tottenham. And that is Nuno Espirito Santo. He is class on the grass. And I think he's really going to drive Tottenham forward this year. Do me a favor, everyone who's tuning in. The link is available in the comment section for you to come on and have your say. Please smash the like button this morning for us. It's very important to the Football Terrace that you get that done. Robbie Singh here says United have pulled off a madness with Ronaldo. 8.5 for me. The pressure, unfortunately, or fortunately, is on Ollie to win trophies this season. Would be happy with a League Cup win and a top 4 finish. Would you be happy? No. It depends on the top 4 finish. Top 4 alone, no. If we won a League Cup and we narrowly missed out on winning the Premier League and went deep into the Champions League, I'd be satisfied to a degree. I'd want more, but I wouldn't throw baby out with the bathwater. If we win a League Cup and we finish 4th, but we're 20 points off the top, has to go. There's no way back for him from that point. Cole P here says, how long until Spurs do a Spursy? Well, let's see. I mean, there's always going to be that concern amongst Spurs fans that they're going to become Spursy again. It's the history of the club. We have a super chat here from C, who says, Man City 5 out of 10. Grealish has impressed in the first 3 games, but he wasn't the necessity over a striker, is what CB has got to say. And I get you on that. And I actually get why fans are concerned for that reason. We're going to talk Man City now. It's a good segue into Manchester City. And I agree with you to a large degree. I feel like they're the champions, so they have to be looked at as one of the favourites. They've got a brilliant squad, one of the best managers that football has ever seen. Forget like in the contemporary sense, one of the best managers right here, right now in the world at their club. That wins them points. They've got KDB, they've got Raheem Sterling. You know, they've got Gundogan. They have gone and signed Jack Grealish for £100 million. Last season, that run they went on from, I don't know off the top of my head the dates, but October through to like January was insane. And Ilkay Gundogan was the driving force. His goals won so many of those games, won so many points, and gave them that huge base and foundation to achieve what they did in the Prem last year. Can he do that again? And if not, who's going to step up and score them goals? Raheem Sterling, they're willing to sell him for Harry Kane. What impact is that going to have on things? They clearly wanted a prolific striker. The message that sends to the dressing room is none of you are good enough to score the goals, and they didn't deliver one. So one of two things is going to happen here. That's going to impact the psyche of some of these players. They didn't want me. They don't think I'm good enough. Maybe I'm not good enough. Or I'm going to show them how good I am. I'm going to show them that I'm the man. I'm going to show them that I'm going to kill it. I'm going to show them that I'm, the best in the business. I'm going to show them they didn't need Harry Kane. It's going to go one of two ways. You've also now got Pep Guardiola admitting that he's leaving. That's going to be key here. When a manager admits they're going, and I know it's in 2 years' time, but we have seen it in the past where things become a little bit up and down. The pressure on winning the Champions League is going to be absolutely incessant. Has to win the Champions League. That is going to be what's pushed down their throat. I think they're going to go for the Champions League in a very, very direct way. So I think they've had a good window. Have they got enough to win the league? Yes. Man City can win the league. Anyone who says they can't, I think, is chatting. But I don't make them favourites. My favourites are Chelsea. Now, Chelsea's transfer window was impeccable. They were one of the only Premier League clubs to be able to remove a large percentage of not dead wood, but unneeded players. They were the only ones who got rid of a vat of unnecessary and unneeded players. They raised a hell of a lot of money, over £100 million in doing it. And they signed the most important player to them, which was a prolific goal scorer who can put these chances into the back of the net. And Lukaku is going to do that. He's not without his flaws, but he's gonna earn Chelsea an extra 15 points in the season this year, in the league this year, in my view, easily. On top of that, they went and signed one of the best midfielders in Europe, and I've seen a lot of salt online actually. If he was that good, why would Atletico be letting him go? If he was that good, why would he be available on loan? It doesn't make sense. Blah blah blah. It's going to shock people, Soundagaze. He's going to show everybody how good he is in the Premier League this season. And Chelsea are going to find themselves in such an amazing position next year where they have the option to buy Soundagaze for £30 million. They may decide not to go for Declan Rice at 80 million next year. And with the way West Ham started the season, Declan Rice's price doesn't look like dropping anytime soon, although he isn't going to sign a new deal. So I kind of look at it and think to myself, that I look at Chelsea as the outright favourites now to win the Premier League, based on the fact that their squad is as strong overall as City and Man United's overall, but they have the manager as well, and they backfilled the biggest holes in their first team. Man United still have that DM issue and Ollie tax. City, we know they needed a striker because they tried so hard to sign a striker. It becomes a non-debate. You can't say, nah, we don't really need one. Your manager, your greatest ever manager in the history of your football club, disagrees with you. We have to, there's stock in that. Liverpool didn't sign anybody, and they've got holes. So everyone's got their problems, but I think Chelsea are the most complete. That's why I make them the favourites as it stands right now. But an excellent window from them, really and truly. Really and truly an excellent window from them, no doubt about it whatsoever. But I do want to take your views and your opinions now in the second half of the show. Lots of people backstage ready to have their say this morning. I want to know how you rate your club's window. How well has your club done this transfer window? I want to hear from you. I want your thoughts and I want your feelings. Please make sure you've hit that like button this morning, that you've shared this stream across your social media platforms, and you subscribe to the Football Terrace, and you've turned on that bell notification. Leon here says Sol is an unbelievable player. Yeah, he absolutely is. He's top class. There's no doubt about it. Any questions you've got for me, get them in now. I'll be able to see them now. Chelsea haters are crying, is what Daniel says. Star-Lord says Lukaku is getting too much praise and Sal has fallen off, is what Star-Lord thinks. Interesting take there. December is a huge month for Chelsea, Terry. The month that month could be league defining. Do you know what's interesting? I remember when Man United were at the World Club Championships a few years back, and we were there, and I think we had like a 2-point lead at the top of the Prem, 3 points maybe. And I remember being really worried, really concerned, really like panicked that we wouldn't be able to cope, that we would fall off, that we'd have problems that would arise, that we'd fall behind. You know, our rivals would win games and we'd fall behind and everything else. But our rivals all lost games. And we went away something like 2 or 3 points ahead, and we came back and we were like 1 point behind the lead, something like this. But we had like 2-3 games in hand, and they were against fairly, at that time, easy to beat teams. So I think from my point of view, for Chelsea, it's going to depend where you are at that point. Now, if you're 5 points off the top of the league, and then let's just say Man United at the top, you're 5 points away from us. And then over December, those couple of games you missed because of the World Club Championships, we win them both. And you've suddenly got this 9 point, so a big, 10, 11 point gap. That's where it becomes a difficult month, because that visually, physically, mentally is a big hill to have to get over. But let's see where you are at that time before I think we start to judge it and look into it too deeply. We're going to go to your calls now. First on the show this morning, we're going to get Jabba the Cut on. We've got Inglorious Gunnar. We've got Pav to come on, Chris to come on, Mr. Anthony as well. If you want to phone up, please come on now and have your say. Smash that like and that share button. Let's do it, people. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Yeah, it could be better, but can't complain. How are you?
I'm very well. Remind everyone who you support.
Liverpool.
Lovely. Give us your thoughts. Yesterday you signed nobody new, but you did resolve the kind of issues with like Jordan Henderson's new deal. Phillips signed the new deal. But overall, how happy are you with the window? And do you feel your team is prepared to challenge for that Premier League title?
If it's just the title we're talking about, I feel that we are prepared in some sort of way, meaning we need the most luck of all the teams in terms of injuries, because it's no secret that our transfer window has unarguably been the worst one in the entire Premier League. I think even Newcastle outspent us, which is absolutely ludicrous if you think about it. If I were to rate the window, I'd give it a 3, just based on the fact that Konate is signed. I think he'll be a great defender, but we haven't seen him yet. He's, in terms of Premier League experience, an unknown quantity to us. Concerning the Henderson deal, absolute PR disaster to announce it on deadline day, in my opinion. They knew that it was going to have backlash, and it was said on basically every Liverpool channel yesterday evening. It was supposed to be Henderson's big day, and it was basically ruined by the club pulling a PR stunt like that. Everyone knew we needed attackers. You could argue we need a midfielder. Elliot, yeah, all right, he's done great, but he's 18, and who knows how his season's going to go. We've seen it with Trent, we've seen it with Curtis. If you're young, you can have a dip. It does happen. And we have the AFCON this year, and 2 of our 3 attackers are African, and they're most likely going to go. And who's going to back them up? Klopp's been saying that he's content with the squad. I think that's a massive lie. I think they've been panicking behind the scenes and couldn't get the deals done for whatever reason. So I don't think we'll win the league, to be honest. I agree with you said. I think we'll be top 4. We'll be fine. But that's not what I want. I want a challenge, given what we've had in the past few seasons. And we're not asking for 80 million on 3 different players. We've had very reasonable requests from the club to sign a few players just to keep us a bit stacked and fresh, not injury-prone players, and we're good to go. But the club didn't even do that. So absolutely awful. And I expect the club to, from what the club has been putting out through their PR machine, the quote-unquote Merseyside communism, as we like to call it, I expect them to win the league. They've built it up to be this big thing, they're coming out with this big bravado. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. Klopp is happy with the squad. If the season falls apart, I don't want to see any single article based on Klopp complaining about fixtures, because that would just be a big, massive 2 fingers up to the fan base, because at the end of the day, we're getting bantered for it, and I absolutely despise people letting us out to dry.
Yeah, listen, I totally understand where you're coming from, mate. I think that the PR element, as you say with Henderson, your greatest club captain in the Premier League era in terms of winning trophies, maybe not on the emotive feeling towards him, but no one's done what he's done. He's led your club to brilliant glory. We all knew the transfer, the new deal, the signing was coming out yesterday. We knew it was going to happen before it even happened. And that's the issue I have. And I think over the last 2 or 3 summers, social media has made it, there's no place to hide for clubs anymore. We smell the PR. I mentioned earlier, Tottenham, when Harry Kane was looking like he might leave. Oh, we're looking to sign Vlahovic or Lautaro Martinez to play alongside Kane. No one believed you. As soon as Kane said he was staying, no more links to strikers. You were looking at replacements, but you didn't want to admit you were looking for replacements, as an example. You've got this stuff with Arsenal where they were looking at some of these star players, but when push comes to shove, they weren't quite prepared to spend on an individual that extra money. They just bought more quantity over quality. That's the sign of a that's a mid-table team approach. It's, you know what, we might not be, we want to get Ramsdale and we want to get Odegaard, but if we went for Maddison, we'd probably only be able to get 1 position filled, so we're going to spread it. It's a mid-table approach for many people, and I think that's the issue that people have with the way Liverpool behaved. You do have a very strong squad. It's one of those things. Liverpool this season as a club, it's going to be, if you do very well, then everyone's going to be fine. I think this could be the year, though. If you have an awful year and you don't challenge, you don't win anything. Heaven forbid you fall outside that top 4. It could be the year when the masses go against FSG, when you actually see a mass switch, because there's a lot of people are defending them. A lot of people are protecting them. But if it goes wrong and I'm just throwing this out there, devil's advocate, if you finish 5th and don't win a trophy, I think you'll see a lot of, even the most positive Liverpool fans say, I can't keep defending it. I can't keep spinning the positive story here, because they keep, and especially if in this season, there's another PR disaster, another furlough moment, another apology video that comes out. I think it could end up being the straw that breaks the camel's back, but we'll see. Conrad, thank you very much, mate, for coming on and having your say. Really appreciate it, bro. Top man. Thank you. Not a problem at all. Next on the show, we've got Inglorious Gunnar. Thiago's father's coming up on the show very soon as well. We have a super chat here that says, I can't believe Klopp is a yes man. No ambition from the owner nor the manager. I rate our transfer window as -100. We will fight for top 4, not a title, is what Chombe has got to say this morning. Calling Klopp a yes man. Do you agree with that, viewers? Is Jurgen Klopp a yes man? Next on the show, as we said, Inglorious Gunners here. I'd love to hear what he thinks about Arsenal's deadline day, who they bought in, and his expectations for the season now. Welcome back to the show, mate. Give me your thoughts.
Yesterday I was watching the deadline day show on Football Terrace, and KJ and the panelists were doing a ranking of the top 6 plus 1 and the transfer windows. And I was honestly flabbergasted, because everyone was saying Arsenal's transfer window was the worst or the 6th best out of the top 7 sides, right? And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. They were putting us below Liverpool, and we just heard a Liverpool fan a few moments ago talking about the shambles of a transfer window they've had. And I think what a lot of people, including some Arsenal fans, don't realize is that the reason we've had to go with this approach of signing younger players, more obscure sort of players that aren't very obvious, that aren't very well known, is because the fact that we're out of Europe is a massive turnoff for a lot of these peak prime age players that a lot of fans want to see. And the fact is, unless we throw a lot of money in terms of wages at these kind of players, they won't really want to come to Arsenal. There's so many more options. Even the likes of Aston Villa were able to attract Buendia from Arsenal. And the truth is, Terry, the only option was really to sign these younger, more obscure players, because we've tried throwing money at signings before in the past. And how has that worked out? Look at Willian, look at Ozil, look at Aubameyang, Lacazette, all players on huge wages that just haven't worked out. So this was the only option really, to sign younger players. But at least I do think it's somewhat of a logical option. And a lot of people are also saying we've spent all this money and we haven't improved. Well, I have to disagree with that, because I look at the players we've brought in, and I'd say four, potentially 5 of the players we've signed start in the first team. I look at the right back we've bought is levels on anything we have. Ben White for me is better than Rob Holding, Pablo Mari. He's a similar type of profile to David Luiz in terms of his technical ability, but he also possesses speed and less mistakes than David Luiz. So he's definitely an improvement on what we had last season. Then I look at Sambi Lokonga. I mean, for me, there's no Arsenal fan. I bet you there's no Arsenal fan who will tell you that Sambi Lokonga is not better than Granit Xhaka. He is better than Granit Xhaka. That's 3 players I've mentioned. Odegaard is another player that I believe starts for Arsenal as well. And Ramsdale is a player who potentially this season or next season could be the number 1. So for me, we've spent a lot of money and people have a negative view to our window because there's no marquee signing. But people just need to realize that we can't get these marquee signings without throwing a load of money at them. And that's not really the kind of player I want to be attracting to the club.
Look, I think I understand your points. Do you think that Arteta is the right manager, though, to take these players that you bought and turn them into the stars that you need them to be? I suppose that's the other question, isn't it? Because there's definitely some talent there. No one can deny it. No one can deny you've signed some good players. But can your manager create a team?
This is a big point. And another thing that I'm not too worried about is the manager situation. The good thing, Terry, with the young players is that they can be molded. So if Arteta gets sacked and we bring in a manager who is good with young players, it doesn't matter that Arteta brought them in, especially if we bring in a manager who likes to work with sort of younger players, players with flair, and play an expansive style of football. These players can be molded, and that's why I'm not a big fan at the moment of the situation Arsenal are in of bringing in these older players because they can't be molded. They're specifically for specific managers. The likes of Antonio Conte is Jose Mourinho are huge examples of this, where they go into clubs and they have a very short-term approach of signing players specifically for them.
Can I ask you a question? I need to ask you a question.
Sure,
Do you work in the Arsenal PR department?
Absolutely not.
I think you'd get. I think you could work. I think you could get a job there, mate. Honestly, I think you could get a job. You're very. this. Listen. I respect you, but I'm only joking. I'm being flippant.
Yeah.
But I understand where you're coming from. Most Arsenal fans disagree with you, though. Most are infuriated by this window. Why do you think they're so angry in comparison to, say, you?
I think they haven't clocked the idea that of the position Arsenal are in, and that a lot of them aren't being realistic, to be honest with you, and they still view Arsenal, even without Europe, as this huge club that can attract any sort of player, and that the case is just not. It's not the case, I'm afraid. And the sooner we accept that, and at least try to aim to be better and not still think and have these delusions of grandeur, the better we'll be.
There we go. Listen, Glorious Gunnar, thanks for coming on the show, mate, and having your say. Really appreciate it, bro. Top man indeed. Remember, you may disagree with him, but phone up and have your say. It takes a lot of courage to especially put your face on camera and talk irrespective. Next on the show, we're going to have Thiago's father coming on, Liverpool fan. He's in the Hugh Hefner robe again this morning. Welcome back to the terrace, mate. How are you?
I'm not bad, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. It's kind of sort of nearly 12 hours now. The window's shut. How are you looking at it and feeling about it from a Liverpool fan's point of view now that it's done and dusted? The expectation's gone now because it's over. How are you feeling about it now in the cold light of day?
Yeah, my head hurts, man. I didn't sleep last night because obviously, thank you for coming on the show last night as well. Our deadline day show was fantastic. So I appreciate all the viewers as well chipping in. And there were some strong opinions. Like there were some real strong opinions voiced as well. FSG out was in full effect yesterday. And as you know, I've always been positive. I'm one of them on the fence kind of Liverpool fans where it's like, no, let's keep it calm. Like, you know, we've got a chance. Last night served as a little bit of an eye-opener for me in terms of a lot of the disgruntled Liverpool fans and what they're feeling at the moment. And I share some of that also. But I also share some optimism in and around the season. Where the real challenge is going to come is if our players are released for the AFCON. And I think that FSG are taking a gamble thinking that they won't get released for the AFCON. In terms of Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, Naby Keita as well. So again, FSG have gambled with Liverpool's potential title challenge or assault on any kind of silverware with this window. And we keep hearing this. Next summer's going to be the summer. Next summer's going to be the summer. And next summer hasn't arrived since 2019 or 2018. Do you see what I'm saying? We've been waiting for this epic legacy summer, this summer where we see Liverpool kind of reinvigorate themselves. And, you know, I was very optimistic going into this window thinking that we would probably attract maybe 3 players. We've got some business done early doors with arguably one of the best young centre-backs in world football, in Ibrahima Konate. We can't deny that was a major cop for FSG. It was a fantastic sign. 36 million pounds for Ibrahima Konate when you've got Arsenal going out spending 50 M's on Ben White. We were linked with Ben White previously, and we stepped away from the table because 50 M's for an unproven centre-back is a lot of dough. but Arsenal are in a position where they have to spend that level of money to attract that player. Your previous guest mentioned that, and I do agree. I feel Liverpool now are in a position where we were kind of dining at a certain table where we were picking up these fantastic bargains, but now these other teams are kind of aware to our tactic, and they know as soon as we step up to the table, the price goes up, because they know that we're in a position where we have a bit of money in, and Liverpool at the moment are just not prepared, or the ownership are just not prepared to do that. And it's a massive gamble. It's a huge risk. It is a huge risk.
Yeah, and it is. And I think that's I said it last summer when you didn't really sign anybody. You got Jota and Thiago, but when I mean not signing anybody, I didn't fit. You didn't. And the Jota thing was an interesting one, because actually when I said this is when you said no to Werner, and you said it's because you can't warrant spending £40 million on a player in the COVID climate, and then you went and spent £40 million on a different player. That was one of those moments where I was saying to Liverpool fans, can you not see the lies? If you're not willing to spend 40 million, in the sense of Werner just didn't pick you, you definitely were willing to spend the 40 million because you spent it on somebody else. It's just, and this is, I think, my problem with fans is I know we want to back our football clubs, and I get why we want to back our football clubs. But look at Tottenham; they've had a really good summer, really. But your club were telling your tier 1 journalists you were looking to sign a world-class striker to play alongside Kane. What happened?
Yeah.
As soon as Kane said he was staying, you stopped looking, because you weren't ever looking to do that, but you were being dragged, you were being lied to. And all of our clubs do that. And that's why our transfer shows operate in terms of, I don't buy into this intermediaries nonsense. I know that the intermediaries are used. If you put a bid in via an intermediary, it's a damn bid. I don't care for the framing of it and the play acting that goes in and around it. But with FSG, you are taking a risk. Because like I said, if you have a really good season, I don't know, you come second and you're 1 point off the top. I think most Liverpool fans would go, right, okay, well, it's had a bit more quality this summer and we'll win a league. Finish 5th or even finish 4th, but be nowhere near a title challenge. And I think the anger will come out. I think then you'll just see people go, oh, we were so wrong not to buy anybody, especially when, if Arsenal have got 160 million, if Villa have got 100 million, you've got money.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way you've got less money than those clubs. Not with your new Nike deal. And I get like the point that you haven't had a crowd. And yes, you invested in a new stadium, but that investment in your new stadium didn't come out of Liverpool's back pocket. That come from investors. Like no football club builds its own stadiums out of its own pocket, like out of its own money. They take the money from investors, and the investors get a return on that investment over a prolonged period of time. So it wasn't like they went, oh, look, the new stadium's under £1 million. Let's take £100 million out of the bank account, like me and you building an extension. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And even if it did, you'd borrow the money at a much lower yield. So there's money there for players. It was just that they weren't willing to do it. And you could sort of think some of the quality that was available this year for decent prices. You look at Sal Niguez, £5 million loan fee. He would have done, I think he'd have done wonders in that Liverpool midfield, but not prepared to do it. So I think, as you've said, mate, let's wait until we get till near the end of the season. I think, and I've got a lot of Liverpool fans that I know well in the social media scene, some of them positive at every step. I think if it isn't a successful season, 80% of them are going to switch and be like, actually, I can't keep, because it's also about people's own credibility. Like if you're a content creator and you're trying to make it in this scene, you can't sit there and just be blind to your own, like criticize everybody else's club's misgivings, but your own club, there's always a positive spin on it. Like I get as a fan, you've got to do it sometimes. How do you feel about other teams in this window? For instance, Chelsea. Of course, Chelsea got Lukaku and a Liverpool target, Sal Niguez. Like, how well do you think they've done? And do you think they're ready for the season ahead?
Chelsea. Do you know what? I have to give Chelsea their flowers. Successful window. Very, very good window. Lukaku, stellar signing. The Sal Niguez one hurts because all the intermediaries, all of the people that you were probably talking to, because I know you've done a couple of shows, and the people which were in my ear as well were saying that Liverpool are at the table. It's something that can be done. Wages were a blocker, and we know that FSG like to give out performance-related contracts, but he obviously just wasn't hearing that. And Chelsea have swept in and done the deal and got the business done. And the thing is with Chelsea, they always have been and always will be very decisive in the market because their owner is sensational. He's done wonders for their football club. 20 years custodianship at that club, and he's done well in that 20 years. He's changed tack slightly as well. When he first came into the club, it was like, right, sign anyone and everyone at big money. We're just going to clear up. And they were successful doing that as well. The hiring and firing of managers has worked for them also. This time, you can see they're looking for a profile of player. They're a lot more strategic in the market. Lukaku fits the profile. They had a vacant spot for a number 9. Age is on his side, and his performances over the last 2 seasons have been good. So fantastic. You look at Sal Niguez. They've let Billy Gilmore go on loan to Norwich, so they need another body in the midfield. What a player to bring into that midfield. Player who's won titles, knows what it takes to win as well, and still has a lot to give. Fantastic signing. Previous season, they bring in the goalkeeper. They know that's a weak spot for their team. Their goalkeeper isn't performing at the level that he needs to be performing at, making mistakes. They go and rectify it in the window. So Chelsea have done some great business as well. And I do think that it does make them title favourites. For the league this year. It has to, based on the business that they've done. Where things may fall apart is that pressure and that expectation of winning. How many players in that Chelsea team can cope with that pressure and expectation? It's a relatively young team. They do have leaders in there like Thiago Silva, who have won before. Jorginho recently has obviously won the Euros as well. So there is some proven winners in there, but it's almost a perfect storm for them at the moment.
Yeah.
Whereas Liverpool, we can kind of go under the radar. There's no expectation there for us. You see the comments, we're being written off. FSG out. Liverpool are clowns. How have you not done any business? This and that. So the expectation is less than ours. United, again, decent window. Varane, Sancho, and Ronaldo. That's blockbuster. That is blockbuster. You go and sign a centre back who's got 4 Champions Leagues, 2 La Ligas, World Cup. That's sensational business. And for the money which they paid for him, 40 M's. That's ridiculous. And then you go and bring back arguably the GOAT in Cristiano Ronaldo, best player, for a long time in world football. Only one man challenging him, which was Messi. You've brought one of the best, most seasoned professionals in world football for £25 million. The marketing will pay that transfer fee back alone. And then Jadon Sancho, up and coming, hot property player, which you've chased for 2 seasons. So you've managed to get that over the line as well. So there's some great business in the window. Grealish to City, 100 million on the fee, though, may weigh heavy around his neck, the 100 million fee. But, teams have done some great business. But I do think that Arsenal, even though Liverpool haven't done any business, I do think Arsenal's transfer window has been a bit poor. I can't see the direction. I know your last guest was really optimistic, but I don't see where they're heading with this model. And I think that's just because of the manager. If you had a top-class manager in there, you then attract better players, you make more strategic signings. I just see a bit of a scattergun approach from Arsenal. Let's just grab as many young players as we possibly can and fit them into this system, and hopefully it will all come well. So,
mate, I hear you on that. Really good call, really good points being made as ever, buddy. And we'll speak to you again soon. Top man.
Appreciate
Cheers,
it, man.
bro. Thank you very much indeed. Thiago's father there from the Red Sea podcast. We've got some more callers here. Pav's coming on now to have you say what you saying, bro.
I'm good, man. I had to dip earlier because I was driving, but I'm back.
No worries.
Yeah, I'm not angry. I'm happy with the transfer window. I'm just a little disappointed because I really wanted a midfielder, a DM, and I kind of thought with the links of Dan James going to possibly Lingard, we were going to maybe bring in a DM, but it didn't happen. And yeah, a little disappointed. But I'm sure by the time it comes to next Saturday, when we see Ronaldo walk onto that pitch, we'll forget about everything. And I think apart from Arsenal, Liverpool, all the other Yeah, maybe a couple of City fans, but everyone else is kind of happy with what they've done. Even with Tottenham, like we sat here laughing at them at the beginning, at the end of the season, and when they couldn't even get a manager, and they've done pretty well, keeping Kane and bringing in a couple of players. And I have a little feeling that they might get the top four. And yeah, Arsenal fans, imagine your club spending 160 mil and none of your fans are happy. And we said this all along about Liverpool as well. You should be worried because we all sat here and said, like, how are you guys happy with what your owners and your board are doing, constantly feeding you lies, and you sit there taking it all in? And now they're in a meltdown. Now they want them out and all this and that. Saves you, right? You should have listened to people in the first place. But yeah, overall, man, I'm happy. I can't wait to see Ronaldo come on the pitch. Like, I know it's going to be a hard season trying to win the title because there are 4 other teams out there who are considerably better, have better squad depth than us. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. I want to win a couple of trophies. He gets an FA Cup, Carling Cup, top 4. I'll be happy, but I'll be more happy if we can get one of the top titles.
I hear you on that, Pav. Listen, mate, thanks for coming on and having your say, buddy. Really appreciate it this morning. Thank you, mate.
No worries, man.
Top man. Thank you. Next on the show, Matt's here. Matt's a Chelsea fan. What are you saying, Matt?
Hey, Terry. I just want to give my thoughts on the Chelsea transfers this season. And personally, mine's are very different to others. I 100% agree. We've had a fantastic window bringing in top-class striker like Lukaku, Saul 2 minutes before the window class. But I think there was needed for Koundé. Koundé was needed to come. Don't get me wrong. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. Fantastic window. Love it. Love Marina. Love Roman. Love Tuchel. Love the coach. Love the team. But Koundé needed to come in. We've sold Zuma for 30 mil. West Ham. Fantastic deal. But when we sold Zuma, we should have brought in Koundé next second. As soon as Zuma was gone, Koundé should have came in like that. Because Koundé brings in so much to the team than everyone thinks. He brings in, like, him to Chelsea, like, his connection that he will have when he comes in is unbelievable. It's the best you'll ever see with his connection because he has that dribbling pace, height, aerial development. And I'm so rambling about Koundé. I just really, really like him. I'm sorry about talking so much about him, but I really do like him. And I'm a bit upset why he's not coming. Sevilla, Chelsea did a fantastic job of getting him. We were supposed to get him, but Sevilla unfortunately did not want to sell, which was a horrible move because now he's very upset. He does not look like he wants to play for Sevilla.
Yeah, look, I think when you look at it and we're being kind of honest about it and stuff like that, it's. I'm going to do a video later today about the Jules Koundé situation. I was spending a lot of yesterday reaching out to different journalists and people. Obviously, the gentleman that told me that he thought the deal all summer was going to be done and dusted. And the news is pretty unyielding from the majority of people I've spoken to. It was Sevilla pulling the plug at the 11th hour. I actually think Chelsea did the right thing by not succumbing to what Sevilla were trying to do. It sets a better precedent moving forward. You will look at him later on down the line. You will look to secure him at another stage. Sevilla just tried to pull a fast one on you, and you weren't having it as a football club essentially. So I think that's a positive thing. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. But
yeah, I do.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
So I was going to say, yeah, I 100% agree, and I'm really glad that we didn't put that 85 million because again, it's a business. We're going to wreck our reputation of the business of Chelsea Football Club. So I'm really happy with Marina, and I even think a Liverpool as well. Liverpool, they haven't had the worst transfer window. Yes, they signed one player, but I personally think Liverpool had a better transfer window than Arsenal because, in my opinion, Arsenal had probably one of the worst transfer windows that we've seen, even though they spent so much money. But yep, that's it for me. Fantastic transfer window that we've had. It was really exciting, Terry, and even you could relate. How stressful was it? Every hour, even minute, it was just changing. So it was really fun.
Yeah, mate, I enjoyed it, and thank you for all your support throughout it, mate. It's been very, very great talking to you most days, and now it's on to the football. Now it's on to the actual football every week. So, top man, thank you very much, bro. Appreciate it, top man. Thank you. We're gonna do a couple more calls before the end of the show. So many people to pick from here. I'm going to go to Ads. Ads is a Manchester, I think he's a Man United fan. He's a Man United fan. What are you saying, Ads?
Oh, bro, I'm not a Man U fan, my guy.
I know, Liverpool. Sorry. I I thought that was Ronaldo with the Champions League in the Man United kit.
Oh,
Sorry, it's
no,
too small on my little monitor. Yeah, what do you want to say, buddy?
it's cool. It's Van Dijk. It's Van Dijk. No, I was just going to say, just touching on what quite a few people have said today. Terrible, terrible transfer window for Liverpool. Obviously, I think you're right in terms of people opening their eyes against FSG. Yeah, I think the disappointment, especially the way they broke the news of Henderson, which we knew was already done, to do it on deadline day where everyone's getting in new players, and to say that's the day where we've renewed Henderson's contract, I think it's terrible PR. Made us into a bit of a banter club again. But with that all being said and done, I still think, looking on paper, aside from injuries, we'll be up there. We'll be up there again, challenging. I think it's going to be quite interesting because with Liverpool, I do think we perform better when there's no expectations on us. So you can see in the comments everywhere, we're pretty much being written off out of even making the top 4 at this rate. And I think the pressure now pushes onto the likes of Chelsea and United to go through this season. So I think we can use that to our benefit and probably kick on this season. But in terms of the transfer window, definitely disappointment from Liverpool side. I've got to give credit to Chelsea. I think they probably had the best transfer window. I think United had a good window, but with Chelsea, they got the key positions they needed. I think that Seoul deal was so massive for them because Kante cannot put 38 games together. So I think that's going to help them kick on. And we'll see if they end up winning the trophy this season. But I'm looking forward to a competitive season. And yeah, we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, look, I think you will have a competitive season. I think you'll have a very, very good season. If everybody stays fit, I think you'll have a very, very good season if everybody stays fit. The concerns are if a big player or two is missing for a large period of time, where is that strength in depth, especially from an attacking point of view? Lose Mo Salah, and it could be curtains. I don't see anybody else scoring enough of your goals. There's nothing outside of it. And when you think of the likes of, Daka could have come in, the Jeremy, there were players out there that were in the Rafinha, like none of these players you really went for. There was never I know you work in silence as a club, but there was never any big movement for those players. And I think all of them could have given you an extra string to your bow. Saar, that's been linked for a few years, 35, 40 million pound players that could have come in and could have improved your squad just to replace Shaqiri. And I know you've got Harvey Elliott, but he's not a forward, he's a midfielder. Do you know what I mean? Like, so a few people, it's going to be difficult. Hopefully you don't get that from your point of view. Hopefully you don't get those injuries. Listen, Ads, top man, thanks for coming on and having your say. Thank you. Ziad is now on the show. But Ziad, what you saying, mate?
Morning, Terry.
Speak. What do you want to say?
Yeah, just based on that Chelsea transfer window, I'm happy with just Chelsea transfer window. Mainly because if I look back when Tuchel first came in, it's been great what he's done, and the use of the squad has been quality. And no matter what player came in, they always performed. So, for example, in Champions League, we didn't know who was going to start. Ziyech would come in, he would perform. Werner would come in, perform. And Kovacic may start instead of Kante, for example, and they would perform. And now that we've added a Lukaku and Saul to this squad, that's why I think it's been an amazing window. Lukaku, a goal scorer, won his league last season, and Saul, who maybe hasn't had the best recent form, but is also just won his league, is experienced, and at the end of the day, he's a loan deal, and he's probably going to be fourth option. And in that loan deal, if he's not good enough, we send him back to Atletico Madrid. We've got Billy Gilmore coming back, and we're most likely going to go back in for Declan Rice. So that's why I'm really happy about this transfer window. At the end of the day, we've got what we needed. We got what I thought, and I'm sure most Chelsea fans thought was very key for this window, and so we can go on and challenge for the Premier League and also challenge for the Champions League again. And that's why I think it's a great window. And in terms of Koundé, it's a bit bittersweet because Sevilla, I don't know how they've worked this out, because it seems that they've seen us selling Zuma, and then they've just added more money on top because it looks like we really need Koundé, but we really don't. It would have been nice to have him, especially of the original price. It looked like we were getting him for 40 to 45 million pounds. Would have been a great deal. But I think that's where maybe Mourinho would have slipped up a little bit by selling Zuma too quick before actually finalizing and getting Koundé done. But at the end of the day, we've still got a young, great centre back, Chalobah, that's come up to the scene this season, and we've had the same amount of centre backs that we had last season. So we're not in trouble in any way. The key part was getting that goal scorer and getting a midfielder that can back up, because we only had 3 great ones. So I think that's why I think it's a great window, and now it's time to challenge and go for the Premier League again, go for the Champions League, and I'm excited because it's really good things for Chelsea.
Absolutely, a great call, Ziad. Thank you much indeed. I'm loving loving a lot of the comments that are coming through. Terry's really a Chelsea fan. Listen, I've always been like this on the terrace. If a rival club's doing some good things, I'll say they're doing good things. If they're doing some bad things, I'll say they're doing some bad things. There's no bias. There's no. 2 years ago, I was called a secret Liverpool fan because they were doing well, and because they were doing well. It's just called being honest. Convince us Bay or Lindelof can't become world-class DCMs. We're actually something overpopulated at centre-back right now. They're not good enough to be DMs, either of those players. Why are some Liverpool fans complaining? They told us to be patient, and we did. This is the standard of our owners want. Top 4, absolutely disgusting. Our attack is stale, and they think it's good. FSG out. Mansour Ahmed there speaking up, pushing back against his owners. Terry, you do love us. Look, when I'm a Man United fan, I don't. When I'm the host of the Football Terrace, I just need to be fair. Terry is 60% United, 40% Chelsea. You say that, but, you know, when Liverpool were killing it, I was praising them. You know, if this season the team comes out of nowhere and doing well, I'll praise them. It's just how I am. Now, listen, I know there's a lot of people waiting backstage. We are going to be live later on today where we're going to delve into this a little bit more. There is still some news to come out later on today about some potential new deals for players at some of our clubs as well. So we're going to touch on that. The big Bet Victor show, 6:30 tonight. That's going to be around 6:30. I've got to clarify with the guys what time we're on, so I'll get that set up very, very soon. So until, I'm sorry that everyone's waiting backstage. We are at the end of this morning's show, but until next time, take care of yourselves, look after yourselves. Goodbye, God bless, and we'll see you all again very,